You are starting in a world of photography, or you already been shooting for a while and you want to learn more. You are interested in food photography, and hopefully you have watched my other 2 videos about exposure and how to light food for photography. And now you would like to learn more. You would like to learn how to edit your photos in Adobe Lightroom. You're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you how. I edit all my photos in Adobe Lightroom. So I'm going to show you my process and how I process the photos to make them look great and presentable to the outside world. So let's jump right in. So here we are in Adobe Lightroom. What is Adobe Lightroom? Adobe Lightroom, I'm using Adobe Lightroom Classic actually at the moment, is a software in which you can open a folder of photos, a bunch of photos at the same time, and you can apply non-destructive edits to them. So basically you can go through a lot of photos at the same time, and you can apply and copy and paste edits from photo to photo. You can do batch editing, or you can edit them individually, and your original files are never modified. So comparing to Adobe Photoshop, in Photoshop you would have to open a photo, correct it, and then save it every time. In here you can open whole folder of photos, multiple pictures at the same time, and basically export them all edited into new files when you're finished. So here we go. We got a few photos from my last video, which was about lighting food for food photography. Also, we've got a few extra ones here. I'm gonna show you how my workflow and how I edit photos here in Lightroom myself. So let's get into it. We got these photos here. We're gonna go for this first one here of the fish. So this picture of fish has been shot too dark. Obviously we can see it's too dark, and also the color balance isn't quite right. Food photography is one type of photography really. I think it's only one type of photography like this, which is actually different than other types, because in my belief, food photography is factual photography. You have to capture what you see, the way you see, the naked eye sees it, not manipulate it too much. Because obviously if you make it black and white, or add extra filters, or change the colors and be creative with the photography editing, it's not gonna show what the food actually looked like. So it's like a documentary. Hey, you have to kind of show it the way it is. So here we go. We got this picture, is just dark. I do shoot most of the time correctly in the camera. I try always. If you watch my other video, which is linked below, how to set exposure in the camera, I always try to get exposure about right in the camera. It's not always possible, and sometimes you got elements of the photo when you have to adjust. But in this case, I've shot this one photo slightly too dark, but the next one here I've imported is almost right straight from the camera. But there's things needs to adjust things. Anyway, let's go back into this one, the first photo, and here I'm gonna brighten the picture with exposure until about there, when I think overall look is about right. So I can see the table and I can see the plate right, and the fish is too bright now, but kind of overall look is about right. There's no white in the photo, and what Lightroom does, especially to Nikon files like this one, it adjusts them slightly on import, so it kind of gives you kind of head start. But because there's no white in this photo, the Lightroom got confused. I think camera's got also an automatic white balance as well, so the picture is slightly yellow. So I'm gonna cool it down, temperature, just to get a bit cooler. Now the fish is still too bright, so it is actually sharp. So we're gonna use this tool. I don't even know the name of it, doesn't show me, but it's a spot editing, I guess it's called. I'm gonna reduce the highlights slightly on the fish, so the fish comes back. As you can see, it's about right. Now the shadows, the dark shadows around the edges, I'm gonna use the brush tool and adjust the size of it to be a little bit bigger like this. And I'm gonna brighten the shadows just a tiny bit around the darker parts of the photo. Then I'm cropping a little bit. As you can see on top, there's my light standing on a table. Just crop it a little bit. that's about right. So as you can see, if you do it, the foot looks obviously right and in the first place, and then if you shoot it right in a camera, it saves a lot of time in post like this. So you can easily edit it after. So this is it. This picture is being fixed very, very quickly. If you go back to this one, next one, this picture is almost right, straight from the camera. I'm just gonna crop it a little bit. What I don't like is these very, very dark shadows on the bottom here, so I'm just gonna brighten them with a spot adjusting tool. I'm gonna crank slightly overall brightness and sharpness. With the fish, this fish gets a little bit too bright now, so I'm just quickly adjusted on top here, just to give it a bit more texture, more shadow brightness. Okay, there's a bit of highlights on these greens, on the greens in the back a bit overblown, so I'm gonna just select that and darken them. Lightroom is very good for this because obviously in any given moment I can just revert it to original file and do it again, or I can, if I use this tool, I can actually see every single edit I've done before with this tool, so I can actually move these edits or delete them or modify them again, which is great to get an overall look of the picture right. Yeah, so this is about it. And the sharpness, there you go, that picture is done. Let's go to the next one. This is probably a bit more difficult. Here you go, this has been shot again with the same technique. He's using one single light pointing up and bouncing it back from the whiteboard. This has been shot with a bit wider aperture, so the background is a little bit more blur. So let's fix it here. So I'm gonna crop it first, just a bit of a crop. And now I always do the same way really. I'm gonna brighten it till overall brightness is about right. So my main focus point has to be just about okay, which is my meat there in the middle. And now I'm gonna darken everything around it to fix it. So here we go. Then I'm gonna darken this part of the meat here. And brighten the shadows in front a little bit. And darken this couscous in the front here, just to balance it out. I'm gonna use a brush tool because it's a bit more flexible. Just brighten those darker shadows there. Here you go. And probably do another one and just darken this couscous here in front. Just give it more contrast and brightness, just to give it a bit of more depth. So in overall, I think the background is slightly too dark. Sorry, too bright. I think the background is slightly too bright, so I'm just gonna turn it down a little bit. And the shadow in front here, I'm gonna probably brighten up just a tiny bit. And this is your finished photo. We can also in Lightroom you can see before and after. So as you can see the picture straight from the camera and edit it quickly. Also has a look at the other ones. There you go. As you can see, it's a big difference in overall look, but it didn't take very long to achieve this. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. This is a picture I have taken for Instagram account. The chicken wings, and on this one I've only used natural light, which is the window behind the food. So let's fix it the same way again. Here we go. We're just gonna do overall brightness first, just my front, my focus point here, the chicken wings in the front. I want them to look just about right. Then a bit of contrast, a bit of extra sharpening, and now I'm gonna darken the other parts of the picture, like this dip in the middle. Just give it a bit of less highlights. I'm gonna use the gradients adjustment tool and darken the back a little bit, and add some warmth into the light in the back. There we go. And then, so as you can see, I'm not editing anything else on these photos apart from the basic adjustments like exposure, contrast, shadows, highlights, and then a sharpness. So they're all very self-explanatory. Obviously, if I want to brighten the shadows, I go to shadows. I use the spots editing tool here and just adjust the shadows in that particular place of the photo. Adobe Lightroom is also integrated with Adobe Photoshop, so if you go to Adobe Photoshop you can actually work on a photo in both. So on this picture there's a little spillage of of something on that dish in the middle. So I'm gonna send this picture straight from Lightroom into Photoshop. So it's right click and edit in Adobe Photoshop. What it does, it takes the photo, the raw file with all the edits I have applied to it in Lightroom, and opens it in Photoshop. This allows me to use the clone tool to edit things like this. Lightroom actually has got a clone tool, but it's a very basic one. So I'm just gonna do this bit of blending here with the clone tool, and try to blend it as much as possible here. Making it look like he's been patched. That's marginally better. Obviously, for the purpose of this video, I'm just rushing it a little bit. There we go. Here we have. It's just photo. Now all I need to do now is just save it. All it does, it saves it into a TIFF file and saves it right next to the original RAW file and puts it back into Lightroom. So if I go to Lightroom now, I'll have two photos next to each other, one with corrected spill. And here is before and after. Let's have a look at one more. I think this is a good example because camera was set to automatic white balance, and I have used daylight, I think, on this one. So this is actually a window behind. There's a door with the sun coming in the evening through the door, glass door, and camera got confused completely. So because you can see the plate is in white, the board, which is actually white, the background board isn't white at all. So we're gonna fix this bit probably a bit differently than the other ones. First, you have to make it look right. So the plate, white plate, isn't white. It's obviously not as naked eye can see it. So I'm going to fix that first. As you can see, just a quick fix of white balance makes everything more natural looking and a bit cooler. So now I'm going to adjust the overall brightness just for the whole plate. So the fish is actually looking here in a focusing place, in the focal point, right in the middle. And now I'm going to adjust the table because I can still see just there's too much strange colors going on, like blues and a bit of greens. So I'm going to do with this, I'm going to use the brush tool and make it a little bit bigger, and simply I can reduce the color in this, so I can just reduce the saturation in the brush adjustment tool and just paint around the plate so the board actually removes that blue. Or if I undo this, I can actually add some extra warmth into it to change the temperature, so the blue casts actually become more natural looking. So if I go around the plate with this adjustment brush, as you can see, the background becomes a bit more natural looking. Now the back of the plate here, because the light is coming from the back, is very shadowy and dark, so the same as before. I'm gonna brighten the shadows in there and a little bit there in this broccoli. And this is actually very simple process, but I always try to get that picture to look as natural as possible, make it as much as I remember the food looked like. I also think that a bit too dark in the background there, so I'm gonna add a bit of extra light in the back there just to balance it out on both sides. Here we go. This is about right. Let's have a look at before and after. Here you go. Actually, it's very easy to tell that the food looks the way it meant to look. So if we look at closer, actually the greens and the color of the fish and the butter there in the bottom, the plate is white, everything looks as it meant to. If you are serious about photography, Adobe Lightroom is actually inexpensive purchase. You pay monthly subscription. You do get with it cloud storage. You can also use it on your mobile devices like phone, tablet, your computer and the office or laptops, and it costs, I think there's a price here, and it costs £9.98 a month at the moment. There's also the same Lightroom and Photoshop package at the same price of $9.98, but this one has got significantly smaller cloud storage. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope you've learned something new. If you'd like to see more content like this from me, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to get notifications about new videos. And please comment on this video. Please let me know if there is anything particular about photography or food photography or video production you would like to learn or you would like me to make a video about. And don't forget to like us also, so let me know you've enjoyed this video, or dislike if you hated it. And see you next time. Subscribe. Watch more videos.